Star Trek Prodigy, Season 1, Episode 16 review. So now we know why Jacob Pog talks like Jacob Pog.
Oh, so that's his name. I never got it after like the 20th time he said it.
It's like, that's not what I don't think that was how he was originally, but he just got used to talking to that thing where he had to state his full name before he asked any questions, and it was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, well, that's why I can do that. That's why he does that. He just got such a habit of it. It's like, started talking about himself in the third person. And then we had, let's see, who all did we find out about? We found out about Jacob, which that's also interesting as to that finally explains why the hell he was out in the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah.
Generation
ship.
Generation, sleep storage ship. Like,
yeah.
Though they made it out there just like the Klingons made it out. Though Klingons did it a different way. I think they were just generationally. They weren't. Were they asleep for the Klingons?
No, they were a generation ship.
They were full on generation. They weren't asleep.
Yeah. They because they had like full on families, if I remember correctly. You're talking about the one from Voyager, right?
Yeah, where they
the ones who
or whatever it was.
The ones who worshipped B'Elanna's baby is the second coming.
Yeah. Well, the one that will save the Empire, or whatnot.
The Messiah type thing.
Yeah,
it's like
this is.
It's like
the prophecy said you would be with child, who would find you. We would know him. We would know the.
You are the father of the Messiah. You must be a wonderful warrior. Actually, I'm just a flyboy. I'm an amazing pilot, but not that big into fighting. I mean, she usually wins, honestly. Well, that's how it should be in Klingon society, which, I mean, if you remember Worf, that is kind of how it is anyway. It's like, so how do Klingons flirt? We recite poetry. Well, the female hurls large objects at us. I mean, we dock.
That one line of dialogue was just it garners so many mental images of just Worf ducking and dodging while just shit gets thrown past his head.
I'm picturing, that you remember the scene where Picard was reciting poetry to Luoxana to try to free her from the Ferengi.
How shall I compare thee to a summer's day?
And then just having Luoxana throw like cushions at him and stuff, and he's just like ducking while doing that large gesticulatory poetry reading. Funny enough, I've been binging TOS, not TNG right now.
And let's see. But yeah, so generation ship. So technically, from the
because they were going to create a new, more of a seed ship, really. Because they were frozen and were going to wake up on a new planet to colonize.
Yeah. So they could still be going. They could still be going right now, for all we know.
Yeah. After he fixed everything.
Yeah. Everything's working nominally. All right. Bailing out.
Now, I'm like, so what if there was only 29 people that have been like, hey, dude, you have to wake up and leave. Just kick some random stranger out.
Yeah, or if this were a darker series, which pod do I chuck out the window?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they're so, and they were orphans, I think is what he said. So like
Yeah.
they don't even like, and the fact that he was sleeping for so long, there's no telling, when exactly he was actually born.
That
So
it's kind of funny though. The whole they just take their orphans and throw them out into space.
that's one way to get rid of them. One way to deal with them. Uh,
And hope they find a colony to create.
they don't come back angry.
Yeah. Hope they colonize somewhere and can't find their way home.
Yeah. Well, and the nice thing about the one of the things that I think is interesting is that Jacob has given that when that ship set out, it was a long time ago to be out in the
Mhm.
Delta Quadrant. It had to have been a long time ago. So if it was a long time ago, then like he's probably the foremost expert of his entire species on Tellarite technology of that era in terms of actually working on it.
Yeah.
So if they have a museum ship, oh, we need this worked on. Oh yeah, hey, I was working on that like a couple years ago. Like I was
However
a
long.
trainee, but I know what that is. It's like we've lost the records on what this hell this is. Oh, that's this. Tick tick tick, dunk. Whoa. Oh, okay, that works. But yeah, so
At least being a an orphan who didn't really have many prospects to begin with, he didn't have to worry about not having, about coming home and hundreds of years later
yeah,
being everything he knows is gone because there isn't really anybody he knows. Which is probably why they did it with orphans.
yeah. Orphans. Nobody's. Yeah, that's why orphans get a lot of crap because nobody's going to be paying attention. There's nobody to come back for them or for them to come back to. So it's just like, oh, yeah, if
Nobody's gonna miss them. Let's just experiment on them.
yeah, they're they're the most expendable. I mean, it has the least political blowback unless people find out we're shipping orphans into space. Then it might get a little touchy. But as long as nobody finds out we're doing it, nobody will ever find nobody like this becomes a national news, a world news sort of thing. I don't know. People, Tellarites might not have as big a problem with it because it could be argued that, oh no, this is a good idea, and then you'd have Tellarites arguing no, it's a bad idea, and then you'd have more Tellarites, oh no, it's a good idea.
Well, I
Tellarites are going
mean,
to argue.
Tellarites love to argue.
I really love how it's like everybody will know the name Jake and Pog a couple minutes later. Who are you again?
Yeah. Let's see. We had that, and then we had Rock Talk. I would think that like we know that it's just like nobody came to see the monster win, but like if I'd seen that show as many times as they had, and then we get a little bit of something different, it's like, oh, that's funny. Like
Yeah,
it's like, oh, they got a new act. Like it's the same. Like you'd think that would get really dry after a time if it's the same sort of
exactly.
thing.
It's
It's like,
like medieval times. It's like
yeah, exactly.
they you don't want to go and know exactly who's gonna win straight out the gate.
Yeah.
And it
That's
being
why
something,
they change things up.
yeah, yeah, and just mix stuff up, and you know, the hero and the monster. And it's like, oh yeah, sometimes the monster wins, but it's usually pretty funny. Like the hero normally wins. It's a good show. Like the choreography is decent, but occasionally just to sort of break up the monotony. You might get lucky and you see the monster win, and they'll be really funny. They'll do something very silly, and it'll be funny. So, like, don't always expect it to be.
So basically, every Star Trek series has now had an arena episode. Did they
I
have
guess.
DS9? I don't remember.
An arena episode?
You know,
Kind of. There was that one time where Worf fought the Jem'Hadar.
you know, where they're like set in a, you know, basically a fight.
Yeah, there was a. Yeah, I think it was.
Style.
I think it was Worf that got. He was. They were captured by the Dominion, and there was some reason he needed to fight. It helped the mission somehow. It helped them escape or do something somehow, and so he kept fighting, and that was pleasing the Dominion Guard, the Jem'Hadar or something, to fight a Klingon, and so he kept fighting because it did something. It let them, kept them distracted and whatnot, or it prolonged something. There was something that it did. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, he had to fight for a while, and it was just like a little ring, and there was a little touch button on both sides to kind of say, "I will continue the match," and when you got knocked down, you had to stand up and go touch that to say, "Yes, I'm going to continue the fight," and so like that was a big thing. And then let's see what else. There might have been something else that I'm not thinking about.
There's the Medusan.
Well, I was talking about another arena thing in DS9.
Yeah. I mean, besides the boxing ring that Q created.
Yeah, that was for the.
But that doesn't really count.
Because that was also.
It was funny though.
Yeah, it was very brief. You hit me.
Picard never hit me.
I'm not Picard.
No, you're much easier to instigate.
Yeah. Yeah, something to that effect. You're much easier to provoke or something like that.
Provoke, I think, was the right one. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is one of the funniest. It just does show you such a different character that Sisko is from Picard. It's like,
yeah,
no, not all the captains in Star Trek are the same. Sisko punched Q in the face.
Yeah,
omnipotent being. Like, he punches him in the face. It's like
Picard just has that although I think he kind of likes it in a way. You know, that challenge.
Yeah. Well, it's a different kind of amusement.
It's a different dynamic. Yeah. It's a different dynamic between them. Like Picard and Q, they're like they have that dynamic together, and it's kind of like when you have your pet cat or pet dog that's like annoying, but you love them anyways.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then you go to visit somebody else's house and their dog just like will bite you on sight.
Well, the thing is, neither of them really give him any respect. Like, neither of them treat him with any respect, and that's weird for an omnipotent being. It's just two different ways of, like, Sisko's just, I'm not going to take your shit. Go away. Stop doing this. Because he thought he was because he thought Q was messing with the station.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. It was something else. It was like an artifact or something that was messing with the station. But he thought it was Q because it was something that Q would do.
Yeah. And he was actually trying to help, like he always does.
In his weird way.
Well, of course he has a weird way of helping.
But yeah. So yeah, I do. That is one of my favorite scenes. Like, there's the in the pale moonlight, you know, that little monologue. That's amazing, and there's like Worf's whole entrance into Quarks is just badass. That's really cool. But yeah, there's there's so many great moments with that. But anyway, let's see. And then somehow they you captured the Medusan. Like that seems like, I guess they've got, because they had like visors on, but I guess there's anti-Medusan visors.
Well, I mean, think of this way.
I guess
Well,
she
it's
is in a
kind of
containment, or she.
it,
Yeah, this
they,
character Zero is in a containment vessel already, so it's just sort of flipping that paradigm backwards.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically like when you wear those special sunglasses to look at the
sun during an eclipse.
Yeah, it's basically that hyperpolarization that allows you can still see everything around you, but you can also see the sun.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the particular tech is, but like, yeah, it just seems like,
So it makes sense that visors can work against them.
yeah, because this was just taking the containment unit, because you can look at the containment unit and it's fine,
and you can see the swirling mass inside without going insane.
yeah. So there has to be some technology where that doesn't make you go crazy. So you just take technology, and instead of wrapping initially wrapping the Medusan in it, you just wrap your own face in it. So
Yeah.
you're just, I'm going to contain myself instead of you, and then
Also,
you have the sort of staffs that kind of force the Medusan into a box, and it's like, okay, we know the box works because we have a containment vessel, but it's like, okay.
Also, I gotta say that I guess only like the sight of them only makes like sentient creatures insane, because there are some animals that definitely saw Zero and they were like, okay.
Yeah, but think about it. Like, how do you know if the animals have gone insane just by looking at them?
They didn't start quacking. Kidding.
The space duck. How
Most
glorious.
most animals can only make specific vocal oscillations. That's why lions can roar, but they can't purr.
But
And why cats, house cats can purr, but they can't roar.
I know. They didn't instantly run for president.
I mean, only Cheetos and Oompa Loompas do that.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, yeah, there may be a threshold of neurological complexity before it takes hold, or it would, they did drive them crazy, but they didn't. But you couldn't tell because it was so short lived, and we don't know what those species act like anyway.
Exactly.
Because it was kind of a scorpion-looking thing that lasted for about 2 seconds after it looked at Medusan, and about 2 seconds later,
exactly.
It's like was that scorpion-looking thing like? Did it go crazy? I don't know.
Maybe
it was dead before he ever got in. He ever really processed what he was seeing.
Yeah, and maybe it did go crazy, but it was just, maybe it was normally psycho, but then it saw it and was frozen in place.
Okay.
Maybe it was like a roach that would just like shudder away when the foot came down, but
it was a deer in headlights situation.
Exactly, it was frozen in its insanity.
I just thought of something funny, but also kind of dark. Just imagining those all those Medusans just traveling like the war, right? But they like travel over a small town. Next day, here in the newspaper, entire town goes insane after colorful lights in the sky.
That seems like an old UFO story too. It's like entire town goes mad. And then but it was it was Medusans visiting. It's like, oh, we drove them insane, didn't we? Yes, we did. Okay, we should probably leave. Yes, I
Yeah,
agree.
imagine, because they're not used to it before they got accustomed to traveling and realizing people go insane. They go to make first contact and everybody just starts screaming and clawing their eyeballs out and going completely bonkers, catatonic, and it's like,
Was it us?
oh, is this some sort of greeting they do? Let's try it. And they just start running around, floating around, screaming and like waving their like pseudopodia and just like mimicking them. And then they move on to the next planet, and it's like, huh, sentient life have a strange greeting.
somebody looks at footage later of it because the footage doesn't have the same effect, and it's like they drove them insane and then they mocked them.
They're on a rampage. These monsters. We need to figure out. We need to figure out a way to protect ourselves. And that's how the Medusans joined Starfleet.
Dear God. I can see it though. I can see it.
Now I'm just imagining like it definitely reeks more of Terran than Federation, but weaponizing their insanity, it's like their insanity capability and just like, oh yes, we're gonna
Yeah, that's definitely Terran Empire.
But like, yeah, a Terran. Imagine Terrans found Medusans. They figured out how to be protected against them, and then they weaponized them, where they just have them in containment units, and then they just teleport them onto enemy ships, and then it's like they knock down the enemy's ships, shields. They beam the Medusan on, hit a button, release the Medusan. The Medusan drives everybody on the bridge crazy, and then they start just destroying the ship or boarding it, one of the two. But they all have the visors so that they don't go crazy from the Medusan, and they just we're gonna board the ship. We're gonna use the Medusan, and when they get done, they just recapture the Medusan, lock it back up in the bay, and now they've commandeered that ship. Or if they want to take a planet, they just drop it and drop a few around the planet, and just, oh, you're going crazy. Though I guess eventually people would realize what was going on, like, oh, we can't have the Terrans doing this to us, so we're gonna build up the same. We captured some visors from a fallen Terran soldier, and we'll just make our own, and then we'll just mass produce them, so that if we do get a Medusan dropped on us, we just put on the glasses and everything's just, everybody go inside. Soldiers, put on your glasses. Okay. Oh yeah, that's a Medusan. Okay, shoot the Terrans. Wait, what? Yeah.
And I don't. She's too never character for me to remember her name, but we find out that she also got sent back in time too, only 3 years ago. Time travel, man.
Yeah.
And she also has a cool killer robot.
Well, that's a good thing because he lost his killer robot.
That is true. Okay, like I know it's sci-fi, fantasy, yada yada yada. So this is like a stupid quip.
Sci-fi, not fantasy.
Same thing.
No.
That's why I said sci-fi fantasy.
Well,
yeah, no.
Fantasy doesn't enter into it.
No. fantasy does not have any correlation. You see, Star Trek is science fiction. Star Wars is science fantasy. Star Trek is based on, you know, technobabble and presumed scientific plausibility with a minor suspension of belief. And science fantasy is space wizards.
Space wizards.
No,
Anyway.
that's exactly what it is. I mean, what do you think the Jedi are? I'm not dissing Star Wars. I'm okay. I actually like Star Wars. I'm not like as much a fan of Wars as I am Trek. But
but it's a thing. You have space wizards.
Fantasy.
Yeah.
It is science fantasy, and the Jedi are space wizards.
you have space samurai wizards.
Exactly.
Anyway, how are they gonna take care of the whole? If the guy goes back in time to destroy space organization before they visit their planet, it kind of creates a paradox.
Yeah, the bootstrap paradox or grandfather paradox.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you're correct. And I don't think he quite figured that into this, because don't forget they weren't exactly thinking clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm right now. I'm remembering what rules Star Trek uses around time, because each different places, different franchises use slightly different rules around time travel. Whether time travel creates an alternate timeline, or whether it's sort of a fate thing where you basically whatever you do.
There's a little of both on there, where it's partly certain episodes, and I think it's more based off of the writer rather than
a series-wide decision.
A series-wide decision on it.
On
but
how time travel works.
I mean, if there was an episode, what was it? Yesterday's Tomorrow, I think it was called, where the first instance we met the Guardian of Forever. That big stone archway that looks kind of like the rock that Coraline uses. But they had to go back in time to stop Bones, who had gone insane, from doing something that changed history. When they were brought there to the thing to fix something that happened in history before Bones went psycho and ran in there. So it was more of it's like, and if you fix this moment in time, it'll be as if you were never there. Fail, and you'll have the Terran Empire, basically. Because the instance was that they, saving this really nice girl who just wanted peace, but it was during World War II, so by suing for peace at that moment when she was supposed to, and going as far as she had, would cause the Nazis to win and create the Terran Empire.
So it's that sort of thing, because just times that they've used, like, so the whole point with, like, we did have, because it changes, because a lot of times it ends up being that what they do ends up producing the same effect that it had before, because their whole point of going back in time is to prevent somebody else from changing it, which implies that it can be changed, which we did see with the Nakul in Enterprise. Like, they did, I'm not sure if that was an alternate timeline or if that was prime timeline, but shifted because they'd sent the Nakul back. Anyway.
It's a big ball of wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff.
Yeah, if you think about it too much, your head'll hurt.
Honestly, I have to say, it was like kind of the thing where it's like it would just make like an alternate timeline where like the new timeline's good. I honestly wouldn't bother with that because my timeline would still be bad.
Yeah, and that's kind of the quibble I have with shows like that revolve around time travel. There was one show called 7 Days back in the late 90s, early 2000s, where this guy, they found some alien tech and created a sphere that allowed this guy to go back in time 7 days to stop terrible disasters from happening. And so by going back in time and stopping those things from happening, those things still happen, but in a different timeline now. And
Yeah.
he's basically creating a new timeline where it didn't happen, but at the same time, the timeline where he left from is still there, but getting progressively worse.
Yeah.
Well, it would seem like what happens is every time he does uses the machine, he's not like it's
Yeah,
not built. The bad stuff isn't accumulating in one thing. Like he has
no,
a
it's
bad
not.
timeline.
He's creating multiple terrible timelines.
Yeah, each one
And
has
each
one thing
one,
that's really
one
bad, and
would
then he
assume
leaves.
one would assume the other bad things might happen as well, statistically speaking,
Yeah.
depending on probability context and all that sort of thing. Like, does his you know stopping the other bad things cause the other things to happen, or will they naturally happen, even if he wasn't it didn't stop the other ones? If he didn't stop if they would happen without stopping the other things, that his prime timeline, the one he left the first time, is going to be a complete hellscape if you think about it.
If all the
if
disasters that
all
he
of if
prevents
all of the
still
disasters he
happen,
prevented still occur,
that one's
but
gonna be
he's
horrible. But like he makes each additional timeline he shifts to every time he does use the machine, he creates an alternate timeline, and every time he does that, like that timeline is presumably slightly better than the one that he's leaving. so
yeah
so he's sort of
he gets
diluting the
to
badness of the universe by creating
he
more timelines.
he gets to enjoy a good timeline that he creates, but
Yeah.
everybody else is suffering because of it.
Well, they
Because
would have
instead
suffered
of
anyway
taking
because they didn't have the time machine. Like
true,
those things, the only reason that they can be changed at all is the time machine. So if it wasn't a time machine at all, those things would have happened anyway. And so each time he does it, he makes a slightly better one than what would have happened naturally.
yeah.
So
And the funny thing is, the first episode was kind of 9/11 without the airplanes or the two towers. It was a terrorist attack against the White House and the Pentagon using explosives.
that's
Which, yeah, you could do before 9/11.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot of things you could do before 9/11. Yeah, like the whole like
Display
Spider-Man.
the two towers.
Yeah, the whole Spider-Man thing where like one of the ads for I think one of the Spider-Man, it might have been the first Spider-Man movie was him casting a web between the two towers. Like, yeah, that one disappeared.
Yeah.
that one disappeared. I think that even might have been one of a scene in the movie maybe. Like I know it was a post. I remember seeing it as a poster, but it might have been in the movie itself. But they were like, "Oh yeah, we need to not do that."
Yeah.
um, but yeah. So let's see.
the the whole time travel thing. led us down a rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a key part of what's going on right now is whether
It is.
what kind of time travel is it? Are they trapped inevitably to fail because otherwise, if they change history, then something else. Then
I
you
think
end up.
also I think it depends on the intent of the time traveler. Because if the time traveler, it's the whole time machine concept. You can't forcibly go back in time to change something because by changing it, you cause it to happen in another way. However, you can, if you inadvertently time travel or some alternate event causes the time travel to be skewed, then it could unhappen. And in this case, the extenuating circumstance was the fact that Chakotay sent his ship back in time, which, he didn't know that they had put the stuff on it. So the like weird glowing red psychosis ball of doom.
The construct.
The construct, thank you. I still prefer the glowing red psycho ball of doom. It has more of a ring to it. But he didn't know that was on there when he sent it back in time. So because the outside force causing the time travel wasn't specifically the his Gwen's people. I don't remember what they're called at this moment.
Well, the thing about that is, though, they're traveling back.
They traveled back in time
with a purpose to use it.
do it.
So if you have problems with bootstrap paradoxes, they do have a problem, I think.
But there are still the extenuating circumstances acting upon that. They went back in time to do it, but it didn't go back in time specifically for that purpose.
But
so that could be a loophole that you'd be playing at.
But yeah, I just
time.
Now we've got the Janeway knowing what they are. It's like, oh yeah, we finally got some, thanks to this bounty. We have names to these faces, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, these are just kids. They fought the Tal Shiar, but what the hell?
Yeah, these are just a bunch of kids. You're trying to you're telling me we're fighting the Scooby Gang?
Essentially.
Oh man, now I gotta remind me to draw that.
draw it, but draw it with the Mystery Machine livery.
Yeah. So draw Gwen as.
I was just seeing the Protostar in Mystery Machine colors.
Yeah, but I was meaning it's easier to draw two-dimensional cartoons.
Yeah,
so
that was just something that popped in my head, but yeah.
So I was going to draw the Protostar crew as Scooby and the gang.
Yeah.
So like Rokta with like glasses and like the little the Velma skirt, and Gwen with like the little headband and the outfit, which I guess would make Del would be Fred then, and Jankum would be Shaggy, and then Murph would be Scooby.
Yeah.
Imagine Jankum Pog with the oversized clothes that are already going to be too big for him anyways. They're probably just normal sized clothes, but they're too big for him.
But yeah, you're gonna get, like, now that they have it back, they can go where they need to go, which will be interesting to see where they decide to point the thing. Because now that they can protostar jump, like, where do you go?
Yeah.
now that you don't have, now that you have Federation looking for you, the Romulans looking for you, and the Diviner and his lot looking for you, it's like, oh, yeah, everybody's looking for us, and we can't talk to the Federation or else we'll blow them up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess what they could do is, assuming it doesn't.
Just flash
Stupid.
them
I
with
had a
force.
stupid idea. Okay, so this thing's programmed to attack the Federation. It's not programmed to attack the Klingons. Go talk
Use
to the
Klingons as
Klingons.
a mediator.
Yeah, go fly to the Klingon Empire. They're allies
Yeah,
of the
but
Federation.
they don't know. First of all, they don't know about the Klingons. Second of all, at least one would assume they don't know about the Klingons because they seem very
but
sheltered.
Janeway does.
Janeway does.
So,
but,
like,
yeah.
Is there somebody else we can talk to that's not going to try and kill us? Well, the Klingons are technically in an alliance with the Federation at this point, so maybe you could find the edge of Klingon space, talk to them, they wouldn't infect them, and then they could relay the message for you.
Although they do share technology, at least somewhat, because they are at least allied with the Federation.
Yeah, we don't know what, but
so we
like,
don't know how, if they have any Federation standard tech on their ships that might be affected.
Yeah. Well, at this point, it would be probably best to just, at this point,
Dude, the Ferengi.
Yeah, we know.
They know about the Ferengi.
You know it doesn't hurt the Ferengi, so.
Dal was raised by the Ferengi.
We had that
so just go to Ferenginar.
Yeah. just go to some place that you know, like, it's like, okay, we'll negotiate with you, Ferengi. Okay, we'll give you this if you pass this note to the Federation for us that what's going on. You distribute. You watch. You hit the communication button. You send the message, and we'll give you this, and that will be a deal. Is a deal. Is a deal. But I guess but it's only between Ferengi. So, but the Federation would be very happy to know that it's where it's at and what's going on. But yeah, that would be interesting. Like, it's honestly, get to some place that's not trying to kill you, and then take a shuttle down and talk to somebody with sufficient communication technology. That's basically what you've got to do at some point. Some neutral party, which that Ferengi seem like that would be like the ultimate neutral party. Getting there would be a pain in the butt because you got to go through Federation space probably to get to Ferenginar. But if you could get to Ferengi space, you could probably talk your way into, we'll give you something if you'll just communicate something for us to the Federation. We can make this deal. If not, we're going to just leave. Like, we've got a full charge on our proto jump, but we can just get out of here in like 10 seconds. So you have no chance of catching us if you don't meet our terms. So, like, that's,
I mean, yeah.
Because in order to end all the problems, it's basically, just, or heck, just get some friggin' paper. Write it down on paper, on a clipboard. like, you know, or etch it into an asteroid or something. I don't know what you just like use some archaic means to get the message down so that you can get it to the Federation without transmitting a virus.
Just send space smoke signals.
Yeah, Morse code.
Yeah.
Yeah. or or get it to print one of the shuttles off and just set it on autopilot. Do not try to hail this. Just write on it. Do not hail this ship. Rip out its communications equipment and say, when it gets back to Federation space, it's just got a message inside of it. Like, it's put on autopilot because it can do that. Set it over there and just say, okay, you're going there, and you're going to, you're going to talk to the Federation. You're going to, don't interface with this. Just sort of.
We have a virus. We cannot talk to you.
Yeah, or anything like that where it's just like, just get some conventional means of communication going so that you don't have to meet them. Like, oh, okay, that's what's happening. Okay, you can come aboard, but you're gonna have to transport because we can't have you technologically communicating.
Don't even know if they can transport, because depending on how your assumption is that the transporters work, it could just, it could follow the carrier wave.
I don't think so. My initial thought is that, and it's not. I don't think the transporters would do that. I think it's just a different enough technology that it's not like this thing is prepared to use communications, and so like I don't think so. Anyway, but yeah, I mean we don't know what this thing is capable of, but at the very least they could just go, okay, so we're going to land on that planet. Okay, we're gonna get out. You blow up that thing, blow up the protostar, so you scuttle it so the technology can't be, stolen, and then throw the whole thing into a mass quarantine, or just fly the thing into a black hole. Just say, okay, we're gonna land on that planet. We're gonna tell the ship to go fly into that black hole over there. You pick us up. And that way, it goes to the black hole. The construct's not going to survive a black hole. Even if it does somehow magically survive a black hole, it's going to be trapped in a black hole. But, yeah.
Yeah.
That way we just get rid of that. Yeah, you lose the protostar, but we don't destroy the Federation.
Yeah.
Let's see. Is there anything else on this? We covered means of actually, getting in contact, what their situation is at the moment. We talked about the diviner and the bounty, and Janeway finding out that they're just kids, but they're in some serious shit. And then you've got did Jacob Pog, did the Medusans, we did the did Rock Talk's story. I think we basically covered it.
Well, hey, Murph's story was the most saddest I've ever heard.
Oh, of course. Oh.
It's like Zero tries to read Murph's mind. It's like, oh, Dear God, the things that are in his head. Terrifying.
He and
Very-
Warren would have a great conversation. You just could get him to shut up. Okay, well, if we have no further things to discuss.
I have nothing.
I have nothing either.
Alrighty. See you next week.